Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Air Canada, connecting the world with more than 1,000 daily flights to 180 destinations and 6 continents.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our latest edition of the Global Travel Update, coming to you from New York City and the Travel and Leisure Magazine's World's Best Global Summit, where I'm also participating as a speaker. Of course, happy to answer all your questions today, but we got a lot of stuff to get through before that, so let's get to it. Number one, the continuing investigation into the crash of the Air India flight almost a month ago, and the preliminary report that is getting darker by the moment as they begin to take a look at this, not as an investigation into an accident, but the possible investigation of a crime. They were lucky in this case to be able to retrieve both the cockpit voice recorder, which is in the cockpit, of course, which gives you the last 30 minutes of conversations in the cockpit and from the cockpit, and the flight data recorder from the plane's tail, which gives you all the performance stats and figures of everything that was associated with that plane, from temperature and engine performance and speed and altitude, you name it, and correlated timeline. And what came out of that, plus what they were able to find in the wreckage, was alarming to say the least. You may have already seen some of the reports. I've been talking about it already on the radio, and that the fuel cutoff switches, which are right below the throttles in the cockpit, were both turned to the run position, meaning shut off the fuel to the engines. Now, these are not switches that you can accidentally brush by and activate. You can't just accidentally hit it and make it happen. They have a fail-safe system on these buttons for very important reasons, because once they're activated, it's an instantaneous cutoff of fuel to the engine. Instantaneous. And what did the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder show? That within 3 seconds of that plane starting to take off, those switches were pulled. And the only way you can pull those switches is you have to lift up each switch, take it over sort of a protective gate, and then deliberately pull it down, right? That's a willful act. And both were done. In fact, the cockpit voice recorder records the voice of one of the pilots, we don't know which one, saying to the other, "Why did you turn them off?" And the other pilot responded, "I didn't." There was an attempt to turn them back on and restart the engines, but those engines take about between 10 and 12 seconds to spool up to give you enough thrust. And as that video will show you, it's very difficult to watch now. They never had enough time, and they crashed. Miraculously, one person actually survived. But now, as they begin to look at all the different factors that could have gone into this, they're focusing, of course, on the pilots. And when we deal with issues like this, thankfully, there have not been that many. But they also have not been totally conclusive, because it's such an embarrassment to the airline, to the country, to the culture, that nobody really wants to come forward unless it's in the most egregiously easy to determine situation and acknowledge it was an intentional pilot suicide. Remember Egypt Air Flight 990 back in, I believe, 1990, whenever, I forget, 1999, I think, where a relief pilot pushed down on the yoke and went right into the ocean, killing 217 people. There was Silk Air back in 1997 in Indonesia. There was German Wings, very recent, relatively speaking, in the last 10 years, where the co-pilot, who had a history of mental problems and was under the care of a psychiatrist who had cleared him to fly, waited for the captain to go to the lavatory, locked him out of the cockpit, and then started a slow and deliberate descent right into the Alps, killing everybody on board. And some other flights like China Eastern Flight 5715. But thankfully, there have not been that many. But it does call into question what the human factors team is going to be going through now. Pilots' family history, the pilots' medical histories, the pilots' financial histories. What could have provoked this? Were they under the care of a doctor or psychiatrist? Were they cleared to fly? Were they depressed? All these things are going to be looked at now. In the event, I should say, as a result of the investigation into the German wings crash, cockpit protocols were changed. And that is from now on, and almost every airline has adapted this. If one pilot goes to the lavatory, another member of the flight crew, could be another pilot or a flight attendant, must enter the cockpit and remain there until that other pilot returns. No one should be left in the cockpit alone at any time. Good idea. But now we don't even know yet what's happened here. We just know what we know. And what we know is it's confirmed in the voice recording that the switches were turned off. It's recorded one pilot asking the other, why did you do it? And the other pilot denying that he did it. And it's also recorded that they never had enough time to recover. Bottom line is that's where the investigation is going. We will stay on top of that in the days and weeks ahead. It's a sad, sad story. This weekend also marks an interesting anniversary, a story that I covered. It's the 36th anniversary this weekend of United Airlines Flight 232, the terrible and tragic crash of a United Airlines DC-10 back on July 19th, 1989, going from Denver to Salt Lake City, making an emergency landing, a crash landing, literally, in Sioux City, Iowa. A lot of people died on that flight. Miraculously, emphasis on the word miraculously, people did survive. And if you ever look at the video of that crash, and you can see it on YouTube, I just have to caution you, it's tough to watch. How anybody could have survived is beyond belief. But on our radio show this weekend, this Saturday, which is July 19th, I'll be talking to Susan White, flight attendant on the plane who survived. But not just for her to tell that story again, as painful as it is, but to talk about the lessons learned from that accident. And there were many. But most important, and perhaps disturbingly, the lessons that have still not been applied from that accident. And we'll talk about that this Saturday. So be sure to catch our Eye on Travel show. It's 3 hours starting at 10 a.m. or 10:05 a.m. Eastern time. Check your local listings. If you have difficulty finding it in your market, not a problem. You can go right to our website, petergreenberg.com, hit the radio icon, and we can listen to it streamed live. So I hope you'll join us on that. Okay, let's have some fun. Does the name Wonsan ring a bell? Never heard of it? Ever wanted to go to the beach in Wonsan? Well, now at least some people can, because it's the only and the newest beach resort in North Korea. That's right. They've opened it, and they're making it available first to Russian vacationers. But given the economic impact of travel and tourism and the power of travel and tourism, this is the North Korean version, perhaps, of ping pong diplomacy. We may see other people invited to lounge at the beach. By the way, this is where Lil Kim grew up. He grew up on the beach in Wonsan, so it has importance to him as well. So we'll be following that story to see how they build the infrastructure to support their very first official beach destination. Kind of fun. Okay, now, speaking of anniversaries, we did this story about 5 years ago on The Travel Detective on PBS, also on Amazon and Apple TV. I went aboard the oldest cruise ship still sailing around the world. Let's roll the video. It's called the Astoria, and it's been around since 1955. That's right, 1955. And in 1956, it wasn't called the Astoria. It was the pride of the Swedish fleet. It was called the Stockholm. And it was on a cruise from New York to Europe when, at about 1 o'clock in the morning that night, rounding the coast of Massachusetts on its way over across the Atlantic, in fog, it slammed at relatively high speed into the pride of the Italian fleet, the Andrea Doria, and it sank the ship. It was front page news for weeks, but that's where the story just begins, not where the story ends. And when that ship, the Stockholm, limped back into New York Harbor, most of the front of the ship was missing. It was crunched in like a bad soda can. And nobody ever expected the ship to ever sail again. Well, it did, under 5 separate owners with 9 different names. At one point, this ship was actually sailing for the East Germans as a way to reward loyal Communist Party members with a cruise. The stories of this ship are unbelievable. And so 5 years ago, we went on the ship. The video you just saw was taken in Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. And talk about a legend. Talk about history. Talk about a ship, the design of which you don't see anymore. Well, you're not going to see it anymore, because this week the ship has arrived at the scrapyard in Belgium. It finally ran out of lives, and after 75 years, it's gone, or it is about to go. But I thought it would be important to share that story with you. So we're going to show you the link so you can actually go and watch that story that we did of the legendary ship with this incredible, somewhat notorious history. So check it out, and I'll have Anthony show it to you. I think we're showing you the link right now. So I hope you get a chance to do that. And in the meantime, one more housekeeping note. Of course, Travel Detective Season 10 on the air right now. So check your PBS local listings, as well as Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. All right, let's scroll down and start saying, excuse me? The trailer, yeah. Anthony is correcting me while we're live. Thank you, Anthony. He's giving me signals that actually work if you're at the airport landing a plane, but that's okay. Here's a little sneak preview, thank you, Anthony, of Season 10. On this season of The Travel Detective, we'll voyage across the globe, first to experience true sustainable tourism in the Galapagos Islands. Then, we'll learn the ancient rituals of the Wallapai people of Grand Canyon West. We'll head to Italy to explore how one cruise line has perfected onboard waste management and discover the hidden gems of Montreal, the Napa Valley, and the Texas Hill Country. Plus, we'll find the companies and products that are still proudly made in the USA. And there you have it. Thanks to Anthony's sign language, you saw the teaser. Okay, now let's scroll down and say hello to somebody. Jim and Harriet, always numero uno from Richmond, Virginia. Priya is going Chicago. Priya, nice to see you again. Sue is saying hi from hot and sunny Bellingham, Washington. Robin's in Williamsburg, Virginia. Melanie is saying hi from stormy Miami. Paul is saying greetings from Ashland, Virginia. Lovely there. Randy, humid Ann Arbor. We love Ann Arbor. We don't like their football team since I went to Wisconsin, but we do love Ann Arbor. Camilla is saying hi from Tucson. Kim is saying hi from, I don't know where you're saying hi from, Kim. You'll have to tell me. Rory's saying the Hudson Valley and packing for South Africa. Cool deal. Paul is saying if the airlines are successful in having only one pilot for a plane, then who will be sitting in the jump seat? Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in terms of safety on board, that you have a 2-man crew or a 2-person crew on every plane. Used to be 3. Most of the time now it's 2. The rule is, these are internal rules of the airlines, that if one pilot has to go to the lavatory or leave the cockpit, another member of the flight crew has to replace him or her for that duration. So there's never one person in the cockpit at any one time. Simple as that. Okay? All right. Patrick's saying hello. Lorena's saying hi from, really? We're talking from Michigan, I believe. All right. Jeff is saying flying this weekend from LAX to Bali with a 4-hour layover in Taipei on EVA. Do you have an opinion on EVA? Yeah. They do a good job. You know, the airlines, the EVA out of Taiwan does a very good job. I like them. They're not pretentious. They're not promising something they're not delivering. And my experience, at least on EVA, has been the food on board has been pretty good. Okay, Red's saying, watching from Omaha, going to London again in September and got my ETA done. Round trip airfare from the Midwest was incredibly low when I open jawed it. Exactly what I did. Remember? Let me tell you what an open jaw ticket is for those of you who don't know what it means. But what he's done is brilliant. So instead of, let's say, going from New York to London and then back to New York, or in his case, Omaha to London and back to Omaha, I would go New York to London, take the train to Paris or Amsterdam, have fun there, and fly home from there. In many cases, the fares are so much cheaper, right? Plus, you're not paying that dreaded UK user tax for anybody leaving a UK airport. The other way to do it is the example I gave about 2 weeks ago. I was going to London and I knew I had to go to Los Angeles, but I didn't know when at that point. So I bought a one-way ticket to London, which is about $700. And then I went to buy a one-way ticket from London to Los Angeles. In coach, they wanted $3,000. Nuts. So I canceled the New York to London one-way, went back and booked New York, London, now that I had my dates, and London, LA, right? An open jaw ticket, if you will. You know what the fare was? $797 for the whole thing. So you're doing the right thing. Robin saying happy anniversary to the Apollo 11 launch. Strange you should mention that because I remember that date very well. In fact, it was, I believe, the 19th of July, not today, the 16th, but the 19th of July. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, that Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. So check that out. All right. Sandy Collins, we are leaving for Kenya, then on to Uganda for gorilla trekking in mid-August. I just read there are protest violence in Nairobi. Our tour operator is monitoring. We were staying at the Sheraton, then flying to the Mara and back to Nairobi Airport. Thoughts on safety? It's not going to be a problem. Remember, I was in Nairobi during the famous shootout, covering that live. And 3 blocks from the shootout, life goes on. Out in the Mara, life totally goes on. So most people who are going on safari in Kenya basically spend a night, maybe 2 in Nairobi, and then they're out. I don't think you're going to have a problem. Okay? Okay. Priya says, I watched your video about the FAA silently allowing Boeing to self-certify their planes. Why has this news not gone viral or picked up by the major TV news? Well, guess what? After I did it, it was back in March of last year, 2024. And look what's going on. It's still going on. Something is really wrong. I did it on CBS News. I would call that major news. And then John Oliver did it with me on his show, which, by the way, more people watched. And Congress woke up, told Boeing they couldn't do that anymore, meaning you can't inspect your own work anymore. And then deliveries got delayed because Boeing didn't have, the FAA didn't have enough inspectors. And then quietly, what is the FAA doing? They're letting Boeing inspect their own work again. This is nuts. Thank you for reminding me. Charlie's saying hi from Baton Rouge. I didn't say New Orleans this time, Charlie. We love you. Colleen's saying Anthony is the best. Oh, please. It'll go to his head. Don't say that. But you can say this. Anthony is the best. That's what he was doing. Okay. Render's saying, hi, Anthony. Anthony's got a fan club now. Oh, my God. Okay. Christopher saying hello from Fort Myers. Okay. Greetings from Florida. Saw you last in Utah. Evelyn's saying hello from MCO, otherwise known as Orlando. What's MCI? Kansas City. Okay. Here we go. Elizabeth saying, greetings from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. I saw your movie on the Astoria. It was fabulous. I'm going to Sardinia. Any suggestions for things to see in any restaurants? I know it's a large island. Yeah, but you didn't tell me when you're going. Please don't tell me you're going in July and August. Please. If you tell me you're going in September, I'll help you out. How about that for a tease? Gina's saying hi from San Diego. Jeff saying I'm flying from Singapore to Narita on Zip Air. First time on that airline too. Good airline? I can't tell you. I have not been on it. Uh, but it's definitely, well, I want your report on that one, Jeff, because the problem with an airline like Zip Air is they don't have a lot of planes. They don't have a large fleet. That means they don't have a lot of flight frequency. So if your flight doesn't operate, you may be delayed a day, not another hour. But let's find out. Singapore to Narita on Zip Air. I want to hear your stories. Rory saying Kenya safari is life-changing. Have a blast. It is. Sandy saying this is our third time in Africa, first time to Kenya. So pretty excited. Listen, it is life-changing. I hope you do some night drives as well. And when you do the night drive, that's when you get to see the most dangerous animal in the jungle. Which is it? The hippo. Unreal. These guys are night hunters. It's really amazing to see them, especially when they're at work out there. Enjoy your time there. I know you'll have a great time. All right. Another note. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, but it's now rearing its ugly head. If you're renting a car from either Hertz or Enterprise, you have additional homework to do. Now, you've always heard me talk about what you need to do to protect yourself so you don't get dinged with repair bills or damage bills that you didn't cause after you return the car. My advice has always been, before you ever drive off the lot, get your camera out, make sure it's time-coded, and take pictures all around the exterior of the car and the interior as well. And if you find dings or damages, even little scratches, go back to the rental car counter. Make sure that the agent notes that on your rental car agreement. That's what I used to say. Now it's getting a little trickier to do that. Why? Because both Hertz is doing this first. They're putting their cars, once they're returned, through an MRI. Basically, an electronic scan that will reveal not only apparent dings and damage, but hidden dings and damage. Now, who are they telling that to? The Hertz franchisee. Are they telling it to you? I don't know. But we're seeing more and more reports of people returning cars to Hertz only to be charged for things that came up in the MRI. But when did it come in the MRI? Here's what you need to do. And by the way, Enterprise is starting to do this as well. So what you need to do is, before you ever drive off the lot, do what I told you to do anyway. But before you even get the keys to the car, and you're still at the counter, ask the agent, did you put this car through an MRI? Can I please read the report? You want to know, so that when you return it, you don't get hit between a $400 and a $4,000 bill. It's as simple as that. It's as important as that. Okay? If you go to our website, petergreenberg.com, we're going to give you a list of all the countries that are piling on now with additional tourism taxes as a form of generating revenue. Now, these taxes may not seem like a lot, anywhere from like £1 or €1 a day to €5 a day, but you're staying for 2 weeks. That's something you didn't budget for, just making you aware of it. So check out our website. We'll have that information for you. Now, this is the no-brainer. When you go to buy luggage, who's told you that it was the most original idea to buy a black bag? Really? Because when the airline loses your bag, how do you describe it? It's a black. So it's time for a little creative arts and crafts, no matter what color your bag, but especially if it's black. This is not about looking good or being stylish. It's about being found, right? Get the ugliest day glow green or orange ribbons you can find and tie them around the handle. Or if it's day glow green or orange duct tape, do that. Even make your own little special funny symbol. Whatever, it can be a great identifier. Yes, you can put the air tags in. I always do. But then again, even with the air tags, if they know that the black bag's at the airport in Wisconsin, they still don't know it's your bag as among all the other black bags unless it stands out. Please do that. And then, of course, this goes back to day one. Open your bag before you leave. Get a strong piece of let's say, white duct tape. Put it on the inside of your bag and write on it with indelible magic marker your name and your phone number, nothing more. Nobody should put their address on their luggage tag. It's an invitation to every thief that you've just left town. But make sure you put that piece of tape with your name and phone number on the interior of the bag, so that if the outside bag tags get ripped off or destroyed and they open the bag, they can still relocate you and reunite you with your bag. Okay? Now, what else do we have to talk about today? Oh, yeah. Hold on a second. Let me go back here. I'm scrolling more. Elizabeth has saved the day. She's going to Sardinia from September 2nd to the 12th. Bingo. All right. Email me, Elizabeth, peter@petergreenberg.com, and we'll give you those recommendations. You're going at the magic month. Sandy says, I have a purple bag. Okay. You're halfway home. Still put ugly Dayglow on it. Remember, this you're not in a style competition here. You're in a want my bag competition. All right. Robin corrected me. It was July 20th that Neil Armstrong became the first person to walk on the moon. Right. I have a very bad joke about that. Can I tell it? Okay, I'm going to tell it. So one day, Neil Armstrong is giving a speech, and somebody comes up to him after the speech and said, when you said those words, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for man, is that really what you said? He says, no, I didn't say that. I said, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Go for it, Mrs. Rosenberg. Go for it, Mrs. Rosenberg. What was that all about? He said, well, when I was younger, I was living in an apartment, and my upstairs neighbor were the Rosenbergs. And every night at about 11 o'clock at night, Mrs. Rosenberg said, hey, I'll put that in my mouth when a man walks on the moon. Go for it, Mrs. Rosenberg. Okay, I said it. Okay. Thank you, Robin. Is my career over yet? Okay. Tayo says, do I have any favorite places or restaurants I like to visit in Budapest? I'll be going in a few weeks. Yes, I do. Again, you email me, peter@petergreenberg.com, but check out the lobby of the Corinthia Hotel. Check out the lobby of the Four Seasons and the pool there. Unbelievable. But for restaurants, yes, they've done a great job in the last 10 years there. So email me. I'll help you out. Here we go. Michelle Geske, great to see you. And likewise. And speaking of invitation for thieves, how about those people who broadcast their travel plans and pics on social media? You know what? You're absolutely right. If you're going to broadcast it, you're out to dinner, right? Hey, wide open invitation to rip off your house or your apartment. You want to be a social media crazy person? Talk about where you had dinner last night tomorrow, not while you're having it. Nobody needs instantaneous gratification on your veal dish. Okay, good point. Appreciate that, Mr. Guevara. Now, let's go to some other questions that you guys have asked. Patricia says, she just saw the piece that we did on Travel Detective on Liechtenstein. She said, I did not even know about this country. Well, now you do. Okay, Patricia. Gary says, I was so fortunate that my dad worked for Pan Am for almost 40 years. What great memories I have of flying on one of the very first Pan Am 747s and dining upstairs. I will never forget that. I must have taken over 100 flights from the late 70s until the final years. Of course, Gary's responding to our radio show and our global travel update that we did from Shannon, Ireland, and the Foynes Flying Museum, that amazing museum in Shannon, Ireland, celebrating the retracing of the Atlantic routes of Pan Am. Noel says, are there still strikes happening in Europe this summer that could disrupt travel? I'm going to give you the idiot answer. There are strikes happening every summer, right? And yes, they will disrupt travel. But if there's any good news about these strikes, if history is any indication, they last a day. They're symbolic. So they disrupt for a day. They do. We'll stay on top of that, but don't be surprised. It's a way of life. Transit and transportation strikes that happen for 24 hours. Tina says, what's the difference? Oh, I love this. Tina says, what's the difference between a travel advisory and a travel warning? Almost every thing that's issued by the State Department, almost everything, is a State Department advisory, meaning it's not a rule, it's not a law, it's not a regulation. It's advising you about your level of perceived safety in all sorts of different levels when traveling overseas, right? Level one, I mean, we can go through this. Level one is travel with normal caution. I have no idea what that means. To me, it means don't trip and fall. Level two, travel with increased caution. For most of you, that means you're not going to go. You're too scared now. Level three means reconsider travel. You've already reconsidered travel when you found out about level two. And then level four says, do not travel. Again, it's an advisory under those circumstances, not a ban or a law. Now, a travel warning is different. A travel warning gets to the areas of countries like Lebanon in the past, North Korea, I'm thinking Yemen, where they're basically telling you you can't go. And the reason why you can't go is because it violates another law, right? Like the Trading with the Enemies Act. Few and far between. And even then, people circumvent that warning. For example, under the Trading with the Enemies Act, the way the law reads, you're not forbidden to travel to Cuba. You're forbidden to spend US dollars in Cuba. So how does everybody get around it? They buy complete all-inclusive vacation packages from a Bahamian tour operator or a Jamaican tour operator or a Canadian tour operator that covers their airfare, their hotels, their meals, their tips, their taxes. And so they paid for it in the Bahamas, in Jamaica, or in Canada. And off they go. They're not in violation of the law. That's how they do it. Now, if they buy a trinket there or a box of cigars, now they're in the gray area. But if you truly want to make sure that you're not violating the law, you buy it through a third-party operator with that money being paid for and accepted in that third-party country. All right? All right, let's go to the photo of the week. Speaking of safaris, look at that photo. Wow. Lorena Hoffmeyer, she says, on my most recent trip to Kenya, we were talking about Kenya earlier, this leopard, leopard even has a name, and Doto, gave me the best birthday present I could ever have. I know a lot of people want to relax on vacation and take the chance to sleep in. I enjoy getting up early before the sun rises and see the rising sun. Guess what? You're seeing it. And guess what you saw? Someone else who liked to get up early. Great photography is all about the light, about waiting for the moment. But you have to wait for the light too. And you did. Congratulations, Lorena. If you think you got a photo of the week that qualifies as the photo of the week, then you know what you do? Photo contest at petergreenberg.com. That's where you send it. And if we agree, it goes right up there with Lorena's. And congratulations. Great, great picture. And now I'd love to know how long he or she struck the pose before being totally bored with you. All right. Where are we here? Oh, I'm scrolling back down again. Marco, my old buddy from New Jersey, saying hi. All right. Marco and I worked on a lot of stories together at NBC. Rico, thanks for saying hi. There we go. Oh, Michelle saying that's what happened to Joe Burrow, the quarterback. The Thieves News at the game. Well, that's a no-brainer. All you have to do is look at the sports schedule to find out when the team is playing. But if you're just going to go on a vacation on your schedule, not the team schedule, that's when you don't want to broadcast it. But thank you, Michelle, for that story. And lovely to see you again. Again, we're broadcasting this week from Travel and Leisure's Best of the World, the world's best global summit here in New York. And then we're traveling again. So we will see you not next week. Next week, we're taking off. Next week, I'm doing the impossible. I'm actually taking a week off. But you will see me the following week, more than likely towards the end of that week on Friday the 31st. So a week, actually 2 weeks from this Friday, 2 weeks from the day after tomorrow. How about that? You'll see me. Enjoy the rest of this month. Be safe, be smart. And of course, again, Travel Detective Season 10 premiering now on public television, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV Plus. And of course, keep your questions coming in. You can always reach me, Peter at petergreenberg.com. Have a great rest of the week. And thank you, Anthony, for the signals. And we'll see you in about 12 days, guys. Bye, everybody.
Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Air Canada, connecting the world with more than 1,000 daily flights to 180 destinations and 6 continents.